in my 10 years, so I'm going on over 20 years, what I've noticed about sales in itself is that if you're a top producer and you know how to do your job, most sales companies are going to try to promote you because their goal is to make 15 to 20 mini U's for you to train people to do what you do. And I learned that very early in my career, just starting off in real estate, because I got promoted very young. But I wasn't yet at a point, and I was like 22, 23 years old, where I was managing 40, 50-year-old, people, and it was kind of intimidating. And I just wasn't there yet. So it does take a specific strategy to be able to be a performing sales manager. And what I mean by that is you're producing yourself, right? Where most sales people, when they become managers, they let off the throttle because they believe they're going to make the big bucks, you're going to make override on your team, et cetera, et cetera. But if you could do it right, not only can you make an override on your team, but you can also produce for yourself. And typically managers will have a higher rip, right? Because that's just the way it usually goes.
Welcome to another episode of the Anthony Eisenman Show, man. I'm super excited. I have another sales expert on the show for you guys today. You're going to learn a ton of value. He's going to drop some gems. This guy has been in the game for over 20 years, man. Sales, leadership, mentoring experience. He's got a lot of nuggets to drop from the mortgage industry. He's now building his personal brand, man. I'm super excited. Daniel Neekart is in the building. Daniel, how are you, man? Thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited. I'm a sales enthusiast as well, so I can't wait for this session.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you being on. I know it's crazy. Just to give a little context to everybody, we're still in this COVID-19 thing, man. There's a lot of social injustice going on out there. I'm based in Seattle, man. Where are you based out
of? Southern California, Orange County.
I just moved from Orange County, man. So my audience knows this, so I'm not going to get into it all crazy, but we just moved from Southern California. My family lived there for about 10 years, and we just came to Seattle because we're opening up an office here, okay? And I literally moved here in November. It rained for like 90 straight days, and then we came back and we were quarantined. And now we're still going through this crazy time. But talk to me a little bit about the mortgage industry, man. How is the mortgage industry holding up? I had a mortgage professional on my show a few months ago at the beginning of COVID. I'd like to get your perspective on how it's doing, how you see the market, and how you see it kind of going forward after this COVID-19.
Yeah, definitely. So real estate in itself, I think it's a very important piece of the economy as a whole. And so it really reacts to kind of the strength of the economy. And right before COVID, the economy in itself was just getting much stronger. And so how it translated to the real estate world was that rates were starting to go up. And so when COVID happened and the pandemic happened and all these businesses started shutting down, a reaction to what was going on was to actually lower interest rates. And it's been a blessing, especially knowing there are many people out there that aren't working, sales or not, they just don't have the opportunity to continuously generate revenue, where I'm blessed and fortunate to be in an industry that is simply thriving right now. So it's completely nuts. I mean, you have an opportunity where you can capture as much business as possible. You put in your 10, 12, 14-hour days and capture the moment, because these times simply just don't happen all the time. But nonetheless, there are a lot of sales agents who don't really get that. They look at it in a different way where, okay, I can work less and I can make, if not the same, but more money. And it completely blows my mind. I think it's just a matter of them not really understanding kind of just the gifts that sales as a profession can really yield you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's I definitely can relate to that. So I think, you talk about the difference between, a $50,000, say, a commission salesperson, and a $100,000 commission salesperson, just to use round numbers, right? I don't think there's a big difference there. You know what I'm saying? I think the difference seriously, I don't think there's a big difference between a $50,000 a year salesperson to 100,000. Now, once you get up into 500,000, 600,000, I think you get really kind of, you get into some methodologies that are really, some techniques that are really advanced. But 50 to 100, man, it might just be the guy literally who's making more calls in an abundant situation, right? Or the guy who says, oh, I don't have to work as much, right?
Right.
Now, what happens when interest rates go up? Who's going to be the guy that's going to be way ahead of the game, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when, right now a market is at a point where you don't even need to know really how to sell. You just need to know kind of the systems, the CRM, and really just how to take orders. But, to answer your question, when the market rate goes up, there's going to be a lot of people that are thriving, making a lot of money right now that simply aren't. And so I think that's important of what we do, putting out content out there to help other people in sales so that they can survive regardless of what market they're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when COVID first hit, there was a lot of salespeople that were, panicking. And the ones that weren't panicking were the ones that were consistently doing the daily disciplines day in and day out, 6, 12, 18 months before COVID hit. And those were the ones that made it through, basically unscathed, right? So yep. I love your story, man. So you've been in sales for about 20 years. You have a lot of experience in sales, leadership, and now you're kind of doing some mentoring. And this is what I teach my audience, right? Is how to get into sales, whether it's mortgage industry or whatever that looks like, enterprise sales, start to earn a high income, right? And then take that high income and start to allocate it to some wealth building assets, right? Whether it's the stock market or real estate or building your own brand or your own company, right? We're going to get into that a little bit, but what I want to talk about now is, I know you generate a lot of revenue for your company, right?
Correct, yeah.
But you also manage sales reps.
I do, yeah. I got a team of 18.
Yeah, so you're a large producer. So your company counts on you to drive revenue, right?
Right.
But they also count on you to kind of manage revenue at the same time, or manage people, right? So how do you balance that, man? How are you successful doing both? Because my audience knows that there's many times where I think every great salesperson tries to get sucked into management one way or another, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because people are like, if you can do this, then you can do that. But I think not a lot of people are built for it. I know I'm not. I think I know myself enough to know that I like to coach salespeople, but I don't want to manage them. So I'm more customer facing, right? I like that to have that interaction with the customer, deal with those challenges. How do you manage selling and managing, per se?
Yeah, for sure. So, in my 10 years, so I'm going on over 20 years, what I've noticed about sales in itself is that if you're a top producer and you know how to do your job, most sales companies are going to try to promote you because their goal is to make 15 to 20 mini U's for you to train people to do what you do. And I learned that very early in my career, just starting off in real estate, because I got promoted very young. But I wasn't yet at a point, and I was like 22, 23 years old, where I was managing 40, 50-year-old, people, and it was kind of intimidating. And I just wasn't there yet. So it does take a specific strategy to be able to be a performing sales manager. And what I mean by that is you're producing yourself, right? Where most sales people, when they become managers, they let off the throttle because they believe they're going to make the big bucks, you're going to make override on your team, et cetera, et cetera. But if you could do it right, not only can you make an override on your team, but you can also produce for yourself. And typically managers will have a higher RIP, right? Because that's just the way it usually goes. And so, to answer your question, it's a matter of how you actually lead your team. And so, a lot of sales managers out there and a lot of people that are listening right now can probably relate that you might have a sales manager that really leverages the hierarchy. So they talk to you like you're a subordinate. They tell you that you got to do this, you got to do that, but they're not in the trenches with you. And I think that is something that really kind of separates me from everyone else, is that I'm in the trenches with them. And so every day, I have this scoreboard where I line up all my agents side by side. So I create teams. So if I got 18 agents, each line has like 9 on each side, right? But every single day, they start off at zero. And I'll remind them where they're at month to date, but you give them an action plan. And that action plan means the only way that you put a point on this board is if you've created a result that moves the needle. So to translate that in my world, that means locking a loan, and you can only lock a loan if you have everything in, right? And then the other way to make a point is you submit that loan into processing. So those are the only two things that count. I'm not worried about calls. I'm not worried about how many outbounds you did. I don't care about how many credit ports you did. At the end of the day, if you want to get on that board, you had to have moved the needle twice in only two different ways. And the thing is that I'm on the board with them. And so, I'm not hiding, I'm not like most managers. They'll tell you to do it, but at the end of the day, they haven't done it in 2 or 3 years. So it's easier for them to kind of say that. And a lot of sales, even when I was just an agent, I used to look at him like, okay, well, how come you're not doing it? Why aren't you doing it? And you think that. And I think that is a very helpful feature, but it also pushes you. But where my team really thrives is that they really absorb the teachings and the training and the tidbits and the hacks that I share with them, and they execute it. And the reason why is because I deliver it in a more creative way, right? So instead of saying, hey, you need to make 40 more calls if you want to get this many more closes, I actually tell them and say, hey, check this out. Here's a hack. If you did this, you can actually increase your close ratio and probably add an extra couple more units per day. And they look at it and absorb it a little bit differently than me giving them a command, right? Yep. Me telling them, hey, just go do this, as if it's so simple. And it's great. I mean, it works. I think that the energy of the team in itself is highly competitive, but the key thing is that they need to understand that everything rewinds to zero. So that salesperson is not bringing in any victories and then not bringing in any defeats into the next day. And I think that's one of the secret sauces that kind of keep salesmen down, whether they had a good day or a good month, a month before, they let off the throttle, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm good. I got a lot of money coming my way. Or they'll bring in the defeats into the next day and say, man, I don't want to go through this no more. I don't want to do no calls. I'm not feeling it right now. And so psychologically, when they see the scores reset every day and everyone's back at zero, it just reminds them that it's a brand new day. It's a brand new start. You have right now to make the most impact that you can.
Yeah, man, I love that. I mean, listen, you're talking my language, because I tell people all the time is, great salespeople start the day at zero regardless, right?
Right.
Every day, you have to accomplish something tangible, right? And for you, that's how you coach your sales reps, right? You either have to get all their paperwork in, lock in a loan, or else they have, what was the other one?
Lock a loan or submit a loan. So basically take that lock loan and submit it to processing.
Right. That's how you move the needle, right? Now you may have one sales rep that it takes him, 10 or 12 different activities within your organization to get that done, or somebody else may take them half that, right?
Correct.
But it doesn't matter. Let's just try to move the needle. And I always talk about starting a day at zero. So I love that. And I love how you're in the trenches and you're kind of in there with the team. You're on that board as well. So it seems like the methodologies you're working are really that you're using are really working. I mean, you're responsible for what, $450 million worth of volume, is that right?
Yeah, so last year we finished at 449.5 million for the year. Completely crushed every team, did close to about 1,700 units. And so it's just, it's proof in the pudding, you know what I mean? And it really comes down to understanding that there is a science and there is a method, there's a way to do certain things where you can not only improve the results, but enhance it. And that's one of the main reasons why, the brand itself is called Sales Remastered, because the definition of remaster is you take an original copy or something that already exists and you enhance it, you make it better, you improve it. And when you're able to do that, it's something clicks. It's not a matter of, sales being hard. It's just a matter of you understanding the strategies and the sequential order of delivery. Whether you're selling cell phones, you're selling cars, you're selling things like me, which is a non-tangible item. Like I sell money, I sell mortgages. It's not like, I charge people $4,000, $6,000 just to do a transaction with me, but they don't go home to open something and plug it into their TV, right? There's nothing that they can actually physically hold. And my sales process in itself takes about 60 days to close. so that entire time, these people are getting hit with ads of lower rates, lower cost than I am. But again, it's just a matter of how you actually you implement that sales process in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk about Sales Remastered, which is the brand that you've now kind of parlayed into. But yeah, just to go back to the audience, if you listen to what Daniel's saying that, if you're not selling a tangible item, basically what you're selling is value, right? And in the marketplace, when you're getting pounded by all this other stuff, getting hit left and right, your customers, your prospects are with lower price. At the end of the day, and this is what I teach, Daniel, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. At the end of the day, the salesperson, right, is the differentiator, right? Don't you feel like for you may feel this way. I felt like this in my career closing big deals. I feel like I'm the differentiator. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why, we could be at the same platform. We could have the same resources as everyone in your team, but for whatever reason, there's always a few that just don't reach mediocrity, I should say. It's something just doesn't mix well, where you have a couple agents that thrive because they just know what to do.
Yeah, and I love this concept of Sales Remastered, right? So this is Daniel's brand. I'm going to talk about this in a minute. We're going to talk about where you can find him. He's got amazing content on social, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But the Sales Remastered concept about what you just said is, listen, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? Success leaves clues, right? So let's take the concepts that are working and let's tweak them, make them better, enhance them to exponentially grow our sales and expedite the process, right?
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
So talk to us a little bit about Sales Remastered. So you've had all this success in sales, 20 years, 450 million in sales now in your most recent year. You're coaching these guys. You've had success for personal success on teams. Now you're trying to help more people, right? And I think the fastest way to do that is a brand on social media. Talk to us a little bit about Sales Remastered, the brand. What you're doing, how you're helping people, and then we'll let the audience know where we can find you.
Yeah, for sure. So branding in itself is something that it's on another level right now. So whatever you're selling, whatever product you push, whatever company you represent, at the end of the day, branding is what is going to kind of separate you from the rest. And we have an opportunity to brand ourselves. So just because I work for a company called New American Funding, when most salespeople think branding, they're thinking brand New American Funding, but that's actually not the real way to go about it. You need to brand yourself as the actual subject matter expert. And most salespeople, when they brand themselves, you go to, like, let's say their Facebook page, right, or their Instagram page, and it's just all ads. So it's just say, hey, this is the rate, here's the cost, check out this new program. But I personally believe that that's really the wrong way to go about it, because they're just looking at an infomercial. And so for everyone listening, if you're thinking about like, well, how do I brand myself? How do I do this? How do I do that? I got a great video on YouTube on the channel, but really in short, what it comes down to is you need to produce content that is in direct tie with the results that your product gives. Does that make sense? So if your product does A, B, and C for this specific client, then that's actually what you need to talk about. You need to, put out content, not in a sales way. So for example, even though I have a business that sells coaching programs, mentoring, etc., right? On my content, I never pitch it. So all my content is straight value. And so if you ever go to my page and you absorb the content, it's gold nuggets. And that's what I believe branding is you are positioning yourself as the expert. And so if you catch a video, or if you produce a video that directly speaks to a person that is in your audience or your target market, they're going to want to learn more about you. But see, if I was making videos and saying, hey, check out my mortgage consulting business, or hey, let me be your mentor, or hey, for this much money, you could buy this program, it's not really there, right? Instead, I'm going to bring you value. I'm going to show you what I already know, and then you can basically gravitate towards my pages, which I branded myself, and that's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Yeah, exactly. And it grows. And so, the business in itself, it's just on autopilot right now. And I'm blessed because that in itself feeds itself. I really don't mess with it. But it took a while to get to that point. And I'm not a person who likes to be on video or anything like that, but I had to push past, and at the end of the day, there's probably a lot of people that are listening that don't like their voice, or they don't like the way they look on video. And at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about serving value. You have so many different creative outlets that you can leverage right now due to technology, due to social media, where you can blow up your business. And even if it's not part of your primary business, think about doing that, because it's absolutely free in most aspects, and it's setting you up for future revenue streams. So you're not just reliant on your primary revenue stream, which us in sales, we understand that, it could be up and down, right? It's not always good, and there's going to be tough times. And when those tough times come, do you have another revenue stream, or are you going to be a salesman on your sales floor hunting from a place of desperation? And I promise you, one thing that really separates top producers from everyone else is they never hunt from desperation. They hunt from with confidence, because they know that it's not that one deal that's going to make or break them. They know that they have enough reserves, right? And that's something that I've noticed from mentoring thousands of LOs or sales agents all across the nation, is they make a little money and they completely change, which is okay. You make money, you upgrade your car, right? You go from the apartment to the condo, and then the condo to the house. You start wearing nicer clothes or what have you. But at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is, are you living check to check? Are you confident to where, you have a good amount of reserves in your bank? Because as a salesman, we're not in this business for base. We're not doing it for our hourly, right? Where we thrive is the commission. Where we thrive is making sales. And I think that because that is the fact, a lot of salespeople come at it with a tinted kind of view, like tinted lens. So they're trying to sell versus serve. And a lot of my content teaches you it's not about, selling. You actually have to serve that person value in order for them to buy from you. Everyone is selling. Advertisements are selling, radio ads. And so people are always being sold. Now, what makes you different is when you actually change your dialogue and the rhythm of your tonality to where it's actually genuinely to help them, to serve them. And so, there's a ton of techniques, from outbound calling to inbound calling. I even have like a free sales script you can get at salesyourmaster.com. You don't want to use a business email because it'll get quarantined, but that script is free and it has a ton of content, but it shows you a different way to communicate to your prospects. There's a lot of people, when they do like outbound calls, for example, right? They come at it with a tonality of a business call. So they're fishing, they're asking, right? Or offering. And what that script shows you is that when you approach an outbound call as if it's already going to happen, you get a different result.
Much more right? Conversational.
So exactly. Yeah. Like it's already in place. This is going to happen kind of like through the tonality that you had, that you're delivering. It's like, hey, this is going on. You're going to get this, blah, blah, blah. It's almost, you're talking about it like it's already in motion. Where a lot of salespeople, they call and they ask, like, they make it a business call. Like, hey, I just want to see if you're in the market, or hey, I just want to see if you're interested, or hey, I'd like to follow up. You got to be creative and make it seem like there's always this like temporary campaign, or hey, you're in an area, like you're in a special area and we're targeting this area, and good for you because check this out, you're going to get this. And when they hear that, of course, everyone wants to hear what special they get. Everyone wants to hear what deal can they get.
Why am I special?
What takes their, exactly, yeah.
What's special about me?
Really, exactly. And I think that's one of the key things. But yeah, I went on a rant there, but
it's good stuff, man. I'm just letting you drop nuggets to the audience, man. That's what they're here for. That's what they're listening for. But listen, you say a lot of things that resonate with me. Coming from a place of confidence when you're prospecting or you're in a deal is one of the number one things that separates salespeople. And the reason is because the salespeople that they don't prospect enough on the front end, and they don't have enough deals in the pipeline, and they have to work every deal down to the bone, right? And because they don't have anything else to do, and then they go into those meetings to close those deals, and they come out very desperate, right? Mm-hmm. Coming off desperate isn't the problem. The problem is you didn't prospect enough on the front end. You don't have enough deals in your pipeline, right? But it's just like dating. It's like anything. Confidence is king. and I absolutely love that. And your tonality it can be sensed from a mile away, right? It's
Right.
This guy, a lot of people want to be around confidence. Confidence is infectious, right? They want to be around people that are experts and confident and want to do business with them. So I completely agree with that, man. You said a lot of great things there. And the Sales Remastered, is it salesremastered.com?
It is, yeah, salesremastered.com, and all the handle on every social media platform, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. The handle is @salesremastered.
Gotcha. So @Sales Remastered, guys, on everything: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You're also on. I'm guessing you're on LinkedIn. Is it Sales Remastered on LinkedIn too?
That's correct. Yeah, Sales Remastered on LinkedIn as well.
Sales Remastered on LinkedIn. www.salesremastered.com. You have a lot of free, I'm sure, value on your website.
A ton, yeah. So the platform on YouTube has, I want to say, close to like 1,200 videos, bite-sized content. So you're not going to be stuck there for an hour having to digest videos. So in sales, just because, guys, I say I'm in real estate, the content there applies to anything. It applies to dating. It applies to selling anything, because it's the form of communication and how you communicate.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I know one of your biggest goals is to kind of get people up into like that 3% of their industry or their company. And I know you try to do it in a very genuine and authentic way, which you do. Guys, Daniel's stuff on Instagram is great. I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't been to your other platforms, but the value on Instagram is huge. And I know it's all sales and marketing tips for any industry, right? And just ways to communicate and persuade people, persuasion, right? But doing it the right way, by being authentic and really wanting to serve your community or your prospect or your customer, right? Because in the end of the day, and I know Daniel will agree with me on this, the marketplace is only gonna compensate you for the value you provide to it, right? In direct correlation. You agree with that?
Amen. Couldn't said it any better. Yeah, man, I even have disclaimers on as some of the videos. One of the things that clients that sign up for my mentoring, I tell them straight up, hey, I'm gonna teach you some very persuasive stuff, and you have to just promise, stay on your word that you're not gonna use this to hurt anybody. You're not gonna use this to take advantage of everybody. It has to be a win-win situation. And I think they get that, and that's probably what makes them successful, is because they understand that now, and it just changed their dialogue.
Yeah, it's real stuff. I mean, I saw Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street. You guys know the movie. He says the same thing in his straight line persuasion stuff, which is how he got Oakmont Stratton or whatever, when he was killing it way back when. But he said the same thing. Like, listen, this strategy, you got to make sure you're using it for the right things, because it's very, very powerful, man. So listen, Daniel, I super appreciate you being on the show, man. You dropped a ton of nuggets for the audience out there. Salesremastered.com and Sales Remastered on all social platforms. So Daniel, if you can leave somebody, if I'm a new sales guy, or if I'm a seasoned sales guy, what's the one nugget that you're going to leave my audience with, man, that's going to change their month next month?
Yeah, for sure. So whether you're new, whether you're old, you have to understand that sales in itself is not a one transaction sport. So anyone that you communicate, you close per se, you're building a relationship. So remember that everyone you sell becomes part of your book of business, and you need to leverage that book of business. There's a lot of salespeople, seasoned or new, that does one sale and then they forget about them, because every month they're going on new sales. But when you can blend the two together, it's gonna blow your mind how much more business you can get, because you're reselling past clients, you're getting referrals from past clients. So your book of business is the most valuable tool, besides, of course, sales training, that you can have as a salesman. And it's great, because at the end of the day, sky's the limit. You'll never hear your sales manager say, hey, don't make this much money. You can't make that many sales. It's great. It really is up to you. So you control your own destiny. And that's the opportunity we have here, guys.
Yeah, I love it, man. Daniel, thank you so much again. Salesremaster.com, guys, at SalesRemaster on all social platforms. I'm Anthony Eisenman. This is the Anthony Eisenman Show. New episode every Monday. And also, I have a re-up podcast that drops every Friday. It's just a little 5-minute mindset to get you ready for the weekend. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next Monday.
Thanks, guys.